Hello, we are Team CCK. I'm Caleb.
I'm Chandler.
And I'm Kevin. You may recognize us from such places as the classroom, the lab.
What we made is the automated blaster turret. This is our presentation. I hope you enjoy.
Spot is a Nerf turret blaster that has two control modes. It has a manual controller using an N64 controller to operate it, move it around, and fire when wanted. And it also has an automatic control using a pixie camera in the front of the blaster. Now, the pixie camera does not allow for the controller to fire. That is still under the control of the user, but these are the two main control modes that we have for aiming and targeting. Spot is a primarily interrupt-based system, so it uses interrupts for all of its sub-devices to communicate with the controller and tell it what inputs it's getting from the controller as well as what inputs it's getting from sensors. And using these, it is able to decide what it wants to do, where it wants to move, and when it wants to fire.
This is an N64 controller. Our project uses it as the main means of the operator interacting with the device. We map several of the key functions to the different buttons on the controller, such as servo control to the stick, firing to the Z button, reloading to the A button, and mode change to the C buttons. From this angle you can see the construction of the turret itself. It uses two different servos, one for tilt up and down, and behind the shielding a second one for panning left and right. You can also see electronics from here, such as the Smart Fusion board, which is the brains of the device, and two handmade prototype boards, which help guide all the different wires and connections because, frankly, there's very, very many. Up top here is the heavily modified Nerf blaster that makes up the main component of our turret. We've made several changes, such as adding a momentary switch in the back here, which, when hit by this plunger, tells the round counter to change. We also added the 7-segment display itself, which keeps track of how many rounds are left. You can interact with it with the Z button to fire, and the A button to reload it.
In the front of the blaster here, you can see the pixie camera that we used to have the color tracking mode for the automatic mode for the turret. We interface this pixie camera using SPY, and it will detect, in our case, a red object of a certain size and intensity, color intensity. Right now the turret is in the idle mode, so it will not move when the color detection is active. As you can see, when it detects a red object, the LED on the bottom will very dimly glow red. As it gets closer and it can detect that it's a strong red object and that the object is large enough, it will shine that red light very brightly. As we go down, though, it loses the intensity and then goes away when it's out of view of the camera. And also, if we keep going back out, you can see the camera getting dimmer and dimmer. If you go back far enough, it will not track the object because the object has been too small in the camera. We use memory mapped I/O to communicate with the Nintendo 64 controller to the microcontroller, to the various servos, the firing mechanism, and also to the LED, and as well as the trigger to see if a shot has been fired. There's a certain address that the controller writes to. That address is read using the microcontroller, and information from that is sent to the servos using a different address, as well as the LED and the button to detect if a shot has been fired.
Here's a test of the automatic mode of Spot.
Here's Spot. There you go. Oh no. No. Here's Spot. There you go. There you go. Oh. I have full faith in Spot to shoot this cup off of my hand.